Hello friends! So in one of my previous videos I talked a little bit about some of my conclusions from my dissertation. So I would like to talk more about those conclusions. In order to do so, however, I need to let you know a little bit of how I structured my dissertation so you know how I got to those conclusions and why they're actually relevant. So in my dissertation I am looking at the phrase right after God creates the first human. He says, "It is not good for the human to be alone. I will make a help meet." That's the translation in the King James. Now, help meet in English doesn't make full sense in my mind. It turns out that the phrase in Hebrew, ezer kenegdo, also does not make sense. It's one of the terms is a grammatical anomaly. It's behaving almost like you would expect Hebrew to work, but not quite. And for both terms, scholars have contested exactly what they mean, how they should be interpreted, especially the second one. And there have been a limited number of scholars who have looked at other related languages to Hebrew for alternate translations. And so I follow in those particular scholars' footsteps in looking at 4 other languages related to Hebrew. And I looked at every single possible cognate that could be related to these 2 words. So a cognate is a word, if 2 words are cognates, it means they share the same historical root. And so I looked at Akkadian, which is the language of the ancient Assyrian Empire, Aramaic, the language of the ancient Babylonian Empire, Arabic, and Ugaritic, which is a language, it was discovered during an archaeology dig, and it turns out that this language is very closely related to ancient Hebrew and actually has helped us a lot in understanding some tricky passages in the Hebrew Bible because of the Ugaritic documentation. So I looked at those 4 languages and discovered every possible potential cognate in each of those languages to the word ezer and neged in Hebrew. From there, I narrowed down the potentials by looking at if anything already had established a cognate with a different Hebrew root, then it's taken out. Scholars have already looked at it, we're satisfied. The second thing I did is if there was obviously, clearly no connection to the Eden account, Genesis 1 through 3, then I took it out. But what I call clearly no connection is something, an example of one of these comes from Arabic. Having a cognate that has to do with feces or dung. I think that most people can agree that saying that it is not good for the human to be alone, I will make dung for it, does not fit the context. Nowhere in Genesis 1 through 3 is any sort of fecal or waste matter even obliquely alluded to. It's this place of cosmic order, and so it does not fit in the context. So that was an example of a word that I took out. And there are a lot of words like that that clearly have no resonance with the Genesis 1 through 3 context. And that left me with a number of potential cognates that I needed to examine within the Genesis 1 through 3 account to see which of these could possibly fit the Genesis 1 through 3 context. So that's the basic structure of my dissertation, and that gives a framework that I can then start talking about some of these conclusions in the analysis of looking at these potential cognates. And really that analysis is the meat of my dissertation, because it's in looking to see, can this range of meaning, this translation, fit in the text? And I didn't just say, okay, can it make a good theology? What I did is I looked at it closely within the context, the narrative, the linguistics of the text, in order to determine which ones fit and which ones don't. And so a lot of the conclusions that I'm going to be sharing with you, the readings of the text, are actually going to be based on that linguistic, contextual, close analysis of the text.